Start streaming. Let's drink this. Am I live? Am I live? Hello, hello, hello. Am I finally live? 4:45. Let's get it. Okay. Going over 2 weeks, guys. 2 weeks until the draft. I'm so excited. This is my favorite time of the year. Leading up to the draft itself, putting in, all the work, watching all the prospects. Really exciting to see how it all ends up playing out. But yeah, we're going to go over the interior defensive line group today, which I do think, with the Tar ad, it becomes slightly less likely of them taking one in the first 2 rounds, but I do still think there's a high chance. I just feel like with every pickup the Dolphins have made, they're really setting themselves up to just go best player available at 21. And there's a variety of positions that they can end up targeting, but I do think it would be interesting to see what direction they end up going. Let me see. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. I am on my channel. Let me check something out real quick. Okay. I don't think anyone's even in here yet, so we're just gonna chill for a sec, let people come on through before I really start digging into the players, because I got notes on a decent amount here. I have notes on 20 different players. Defensive tackles, obviously, lots of players that I like in this class. Some I like more for the Dolphins than the others. Some I think they could get potentially later on. It's just I do think the sweet spot of a lot of these players is in that 3rd and 4th round, which the Dolphins don't have any of those picks. So, don't. Oh my god. Okay. And yeah, but just thinking about realistically, and then I'm gonna probably do a stream where I probably just go around and look at a bunch of different mock drafts, react to them, see what's going on, what people think, how people are feeling, and then just go over a bunch of different draft scenarios, potentially at least with the first 2 rounds, or how I can see it playing out, the different combinations, make it as realistic as possible, because I think there's a lot of different possibilities for this draft. Usually I feel like I have a pretty good idea of the direction they're going to go in. I feel like for this draft there's many different directions I can see the team heading. Open studio. That's fine. Okay. Anyone in here yet? Taking a while. A little different. I mean, that's fine. We're just chilling. Gonna go. Really, the only 2 first-round players, in my opinion, are at the defensive tackle position are Johnny Newton and Byron Murphy, and I think they both have a chance of being there at 21 and are in play for the pick. I think they're both really quality players. I could see them both also being gone, but if they go, they probably go slightly before 21. So it just depends how the rest of the board falls, because I do think there will be teams that are slightly interested in those guys. But yeah, we can start with we'll start with Newton, I guess. Yes, happy 2 weeks till the draft. So excited. Almost, we're getting very, very close. That's Thursday, right? So yeah, exactly 2 weeks, which is very exciting. Really think the Dolphins could go in so many directions. Literally, I've started to think of I still think offensive line, D-line, edge are still probably the most likely to go, at least in the first round, but yeah, I'm not sure. Any thoughts on Keenan Stewart, D-tackle UTEP? I don't think I have UTEP film, so I hadn't had a chance to check out Keenan Stewart, but maybe I'll get a chance. I have 20 names here. It's kind of hard to get through and watch every single prospect, but I'll try to check it out, see if I have any UTEP film. I don't think I do. Hello, Fins Up. Hope you're having a great day. Thank you, Dead Hero. I noticed that Newton has handled a huge snap load, bigger than Christian Wilkins, and Murphy's had a very small one. Thoughts on why Murphy's was so small? I think Texas just had more of a rotation at the defensive tackle position. I do think Murphy can, he seems to have the motor and have the athleticism. He's not super big or anything to where he would get tired easily. So I do think he can handle more of a bigger workload. And then yeah, Noon has quite a big snap load. I don't know. I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head, but I do know that he was playing ridiculous amount of snaps. Even when he was injured towards the end of the year, he was still fighting through injury to play. So that's definitely helpful. We can talk a little bit about Noon. We got my notes right here. Let's see. I think there's like they have some similarities, Noon and Murphy, but I would say with Noon, like he's a very advanced pass rusher. Clearly rushes with a plan. I would say Murphy's a little more like straight line explosive. But I do think like Noon has a little more bend when he like has to bend to get to the quarterback, lower body flexion, which is nice. Quick, powerful hands, very precise. He really knows how to use his hands. Also, uses them to he uses his leverage, his play strength to create a push. He has multiple different ways that he can beat you, which is nice as a pass rusher. And then overall versus the run, he's pretty solid. I think his length and overall size not that great, and that can get him into trouble like with some double teams. I think Murphy, that's kind of where the one area I would say Murphy definitely stands out over Noon is versus double teams. He does a better job anchoring, doing stuff versus the run. But I would say Noon's a little more advanced with the pass rush stuff right now. But Murphy also really, really athletic and good. He has that first step burst, I think, that is a little bit better and holds up well to point of attack, leverage, which creates a lot of disruption in the backfield when he gets a chance. I feel like they kind of used him in a little bit of a different way. Noon got a lot of one-on-one opportunities just with how their defensive scheme worked, and I feel like Murphy, they didn't give him that opportunity a ton, which was, unfortunate for him at times. But I do think he is more of like a three-tech kind of scheme-specific, mostly playing three-tech, while I think Noon could play slightly other positions, even maybe get out some work on the edge, just like a bigger edge at times. Not often, but I do think he has a little more positional versatility. Murphy or Noon when 21 comes up, who you running in? Oof, that's so tough. I still don't know if I'm decided on this. Like, this one could change, Murphy or Noon for me. I've kind of gone back and forth on it. I think right now, I think I'm going Noon. And I think he's just for the reason I think he just fits the scheme better, and he's going to play a lot. But yeah, I think they're both really good. Both potentially some of the better. Which D tackle fits the best next to Sealer? I mean, the thing is, they're both like gonna play a lot of three techs, like three technique at the next level. They both have plenty of experience playing that, but Sealer also plays some three tech. I think who would you rather have play like some one, which they do have some one techs in the rotation, so I think they both aren't gonna be asked to do that a ton. So, but I do think Noon would fit the scheme slightly better. Just thinking of what Weaver's going to run. We don't know exactly what Weaver's going to run, but if he is coming from that Baltimore-style scheme and it's going to be exactly that, then I would say Weaver. But I would say Noon, not Weaver's the D coordinator. Sorry. But yeah, it's tough to say right now, but I'm very even on both of them. And I still don't know if that's going to be the pick. Just really depends how the board falls. I could see them going in so many different directions. I've even seen people talking about like Cooper DeJean at 21 now. I've been kind of saying that for weeks. I think with how they're setting up BPA, someone like DeJean could fall to 21. He could be the highest on their board, and they just take him because he can play a safety or big nickel or just outside corner, just a nickel in general. And I think some fans wouldn't be super happy about that, but I'm all best player available. So, and you got to think my best player available is going to be different than the Dolphins' best player available, most likely. Like all these teams are going to have different boards and how it plays out. But I do think the Dolphins go best player available with like position kind of in mind. Like if it's two players they have rated very closely, but one position they have more of a need for, then they'll probably lean the need one. But how far down the board do you expect Devondre Sweat to fall? Honestly, I think he goes to day 3. And just think like personally, I don't know if I'm taking that risk. I'm gonna guess like round 5. Because someone's probably going to take a chance. Sometimes those players go in like round 4. Personally, I would wait till like the end of the draft to take him. Or, maybe he goes undrafted because he has a couple different issues and there's already with that stuff about him before the DWI even came out. So definitely concerning when it comes to him. But I'll talk about Sweat in a second. I just hope whoever they pick is a starter from the first game on. Yeah, I agree. That's why there's like certain tackles in the class, like talking about like Tyler Guyton, right? Like I don't think Tyler Guyton's a bad prospect. He probably is going to go in around that 20 weight range. I probably wouldn't even be surprised if he went before the Dolphins pick. But I don't think he's a tackle that could slide into play guard. And that's why some of the tackles pick kind of concern me because some of these tackles I don't think have the ability to slide and play guard. I think Tyler Guyton is a tackle only player, so he would be like a future pick. He'd probably see some playing time with the amount of injuries we would see at the tackle position, but that's why I'm not for some of those types of picks. But like Newton, Murphy, they'd start right away. And that's why sometimes I'm a little iffy on the edges too, because the edge rushers would start right away, but then they would not become starters once Phillips and Chubb came back. So it's very interesting because I think if they didn't have like one of Phillips or Chubb's, I would think they're going to go edge for sure. But with the injuries and stuff, it's definitely become a little more murky to figure it out. We can talk about Sweat. Sweat, absolutely huge nose, one tackle or one tech type of player. Really holds up well at the point of attack, just huge, tough to move. And he actually has a pretty good, like, quick first step for his size. Like, he moves well for his size, but he's really, really big. Like, weighed in way too big. He's so big that he had, like, a snap count issue. His pad level was inconsistent. He has the off-field stuff, the DWI. So, yeah, I wouldn't touch him super late or until super late. I made it. What's up, fellas? What's up, Cliff? Do you think the Giant 10 from Georgia will fall to us? I would say unlikely. I mean, you never know, but unlikely. He is someone that would be very high. He's very high on my board. So if Bowers falls to him, I'm imagining he would probably be my best player available, and I would take him. But I don't see it happening unless something surprising happens. But NFL teams make mistakes all the time. And then so we talked about Newton, Murphy, Sweat. Would avoid Sweat personally, at least until very late. Braden Fisk, Florida State. I think he's like I would say like a early to mid second type of player. Mock 10 to Jets in every mock. Yeah, I've seen that. He should go in that range. I'm imagining he goes like maybe early teens around the latest, or he goes in that like 8 to 12 range also. But yeah, Braden Fisk, first step explosiveness really stands out with that right away. Like his first step is ridiculous. Plays with a ton of effort. He tested really well. Really a one gap type of player. Love his toughness all around. Like really fun player to watch. I do think, if you want to ask him to two gap, he's not that style of player. He's not like a stack and shed. So he is pretty scheme specific when it comes to like how you're going to use him. But if you have that type of scheme, he'll slide in right away. But a lot of teams, ask players to do both, which I think, for the Dolphins, they'll do both. Just guessing from what they were doing. So I wouldn't be mad if he was like the pick at 55 because I think that would be good value, but I don't know if he ends up falling there anyways. In the first round in receiver, I would say at 21, like if they went receiver, the only receiver I imagine that could fall to them, like out of the top three, because I don't think the top three will fall, is probably Brian Thomas Jr. And I do think Brian Thomas Jr. would be pretty high on the board, and he would probably be pretty good value at 21. I think all the other receivers I wouldn't mind in like a trade back, but that's more so in the trade back if they wanted to go receiver. I'm looking at receiver pretty heavily in round 2 because I think there's a lot of receivers to like. And if they get, go trench in round 1, I think there's a pretty high likelihood the Dolphins end up going like or they could go trench again, but I still think it becomes much more likely they go like a receiver, maybe even like a safety in round 2. Murphy, Newton are off the board. Who's the next best fit in for Miami? You're just talking about, I don't think any of them, I don't think there's any other D tackles I would take in the first, if that's what you're talking about, but you're just saying like next best fit, like overall as a player that I like. Like, I think there's a few players I'm about to talk about that I think all would fit really well into the Dolphins scheme and are more like second round ish players, and that's Rook Ohorahor. Nope, from Clemson. I think he's very intriguing. Chris Jenkins from Michigan is another one at 55 I would really like. And then I really like Brandon Dorless from Oregon. And those are the guys I'm looking. But Dorless might be more of a third round player. I wouldn't be surprised he ended up going in the third round. I'm a little more higher on him than where I usually see him going. But those are the three guys I would really look for potentially at 55 that could still be there. And then I think everyone else after that, like the LSU players, we'll get to Dwayne Carter, Christian Boyd. They're more and Michael Hall Jr. They're going to be like more third to fourth round players. McKinley Jackson. McKinley Jackson is interesting for Texas A&M. It's just he's going to be like a third or fourth round player in my opinion, and Dolphins don't currently have that pick. And he's like a one tech, but he's like a bursty and twitchy one tech. Moves really well and can hold up well at the point of attack. Doesn't have the greatest length, which is a problem, but I do think he would be very intriguing in Miami and would fit well in with what Sealer can do. What safety do you see as a possibility in the second? I have there's a couple safeties actually. I'm gonna look at my list. Players I really like that I think would be really good scheme fits that can play. They can be like third safeties, as in like they can play like a big nickel type role too. Plus, they can also still play on the back end. I would say Cole Bishop from Utah, I really like, and I do think he's like a second round player. I know they brought in Bullock from USC. I think they would be interested in him. But he's more of like a deep middle of the field rangy type, so that he would be interesting. And I also really like I think it's Dadrian Taylor Demerson from Texas Tech. Not sure what round he ends up going in. I think he's intriguing, but I think he can do some nickel stuff and play single high. Those are players I would be interested in. That I think will be there, that have a chance of being there at 55. I don't think Newbin will be there, but he would be a good pick at 55. Javon Bullard is interesting from Georgia, another player that I like a lot. He's more of a nickel, I would say, though. Is Miami looking for a big wide receiver to play outside like Leggett, or more of a slot guy like Roman Wilson? I think they're looking. I don't know if they're specifically looking for either of those, like exactly. I don't think those are like the criteria that they're necessarily looking for. I think it's more like they're looking for guys that fit within their scheme and probably can play both inside and outside. Because the Dolphins do like to run a lot of 21 personnel. So, as in 21 personnel, like you usually have your only have two wide receivers on the field, so they're both playing on the outside. And I think they're going to want guys that can do both of those. And I actually think Roman Wilson and Leggett would both be very good fits in Miami. But I imagine they would love a player like Leggett. I feel like they're really looking for someone that can add some more physical yak. Just looking at all like their moves this offseason with Jonnu Smith, like even when they added Azu Kanma in the draft, in that first draft, that was the receiver they went after. Those are like big physical receivers who are also fast and explosive with the ball in their hands. I think any receiver in this draft that is good with the ball in their hands and has like a level of play strength to him, as well as like they can break tackles, those are players they're going to be heavily interested in, like a Corley or a Leggett. So I think they're looking for that. But they can also, have a little bit of versatility to their game. D-line. Okay, who did I just talk about? No, we'll talk about Rook from Clemson. I think he's a little bit raw. He like flashes pass rush. He can be a little inconsistent at times, but I do think like he has a lot of interesting qualities. Like he would be an interesting pick at 55. He has really good play strength, really holds up well at the point of attack. I do think he has a lot of like, he doesn't have a lot of experience even playing football, so it's still like new to him, and he has all this good stuff to work with. So I feel like he's like a super high upside guy. Interior versatility. He's got the athleticism, the length, all you can want. It's really just more of like the weaknesses. He just needs more like of a plan, pass rushing, and he needs to play with like overall technique a little bit better. But his potential really flashes a lot. He would be a guy I wouldn't mind taking at 55 when it comes to the defensive tackles. Kind of him and Chris Jenkins, I feel pretty similarly about. Leggett, yeah, same on Leggett for like what you said, physicality. Yeah, Leggett is a bigger Debo, less twitch, but more home run potential. The problem with Leggett is I think he's more of a player that he goes in between 21 and 55. So I think if the Dolphins trade back at 21, he would be an option for sure for me. I just don't think I'm a best player available guy. I just don't think Leggett's going to be my best player available at 21. I think he'd be pretty high up there, but so if they traded back and took Leggett, I'd be very happy. I would say I feel like Leggett's like, I've seen the Metcalf and the Debo comparisons. I feel like he's like a little bit in between both of them. Yeah, he's definitely not as twitchy, like that short area burst that Debo has. You were higher on Dorless? Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of Brandon Dorless. Like, I just don't know. I feel like he's probably going to go in the third round though, which the Dolphins don't have a third round pick. I just really love Dorless's. Well, the player I was just talking about was Rook, but yes, I do like Dorless a lot. Love his pass rush potential. He's just kind of a tweener. We'll talk. I can go through my notes on Dorless. Undersized, and struggle a little bit versus double teams. But to me, he was one of the best, like, versatile interior rushers. Very quick, has a great pass rush repertoire. He just won, and he was a finisher too. Like, when he got there, he would finish a lot of his stuff. His hand usage, his length, which is good. Like, he's a little undersized, but like his length, balance, body control, love all the athletic traits that he has. I feel like he comes in year one, and he's definitely an interior pass rush guy for you, especially in obvious pass rushing situations, but probably doesn't see he could probably play some edge in obvious run situations, set the edge for you. But yeah, you don't want him like in the interior full time playing versus the run. But I do like his ability as a pass rusher. And then we'll talk about Chris Jenkins from Michigan, another intriguing guy with like his really good combo of athleticism, length, and overall size, good play strength, and plays with a high motor. Pretty good football IQ as well. Just his physical traits, his toughness versus run and pass is really nice. Like, he holds up well at the point of attack. You really got to see, if you watch Jenkins versus the Washington game, the championship game, he showed some of his pass rush moves off really well in that game and looked amazing. Like, if he can do that like at full time, I feel really confident about Chris Jenkins. But sometimes I think, he lacks a pass rush plan. He definitely needs to be better for that. And then I've seen him struggle versus double teams at times as well. How bad USC defense was, I don't want anyone from that team. I mean, I can understand that, but sometimes, I don't like to look at things like that. Just, look at the specific player. Just because they were on a bad team doesn't mean they weren't bad. But I do agree, like, Bullock wouldn't, from the USC safety, would not be my first option. I know the Dolphins brought him in for a 30 visit, but he wouldn't be like my first option at the safety position. I thought he was more of like a third round guy, and people are saying you would have to take him at 55, and probably wouldn't be my top choice. Okay. Talked about Noon, talked about Murphy, talked about Fisk, talked about Rook, Chris Jenkins, Brandon Dorless, Devondre Sweat. Who should we talk about next? We can talk about Dwayne Carter, who I posted a video on today. I don't know if people have seen that or not, but posted a video on him. So if you want to see like the full-on breakdown about Dwayne Carter, he's another guy that's like really flashes that pass rush potential. Nubin, I think, yeah. Well, Nubin is my top safety. I just don't. So like, I would be surprised if no safety went before 55, and I just feel like Nubin's going to be the first safety to go. I've even seen him like projected or like mocked in the first round. I just don't know. Or yeah, DeJean, if he's going safety, yeah. If DeJean's going safety, then he'd be my top safety. But Nubin is my number one currently. But I don't want to take Nubin at 21. Dwayne Carter, good football IQ, solid quickness, just flashes the ability as a pass rusher, man. He's a good overall athlete. He does some nice plays versus the runs. Like, he wins on the backside of runs, good lateral quickness, has the versatility. Like, I've seen him do even good work off the edge, winning with like speed to power, things like that. I think he needs like a better counter. So once if his initial move doesn't work, I do think he needs like a counter in his bag to win at times. That, I think that can cause his pass rush to be up and down. And then when he plays with poor pad level in the running game, he finds himself in trouble. So just more consistent with the pad level, having a counter, and then I would say balance too, because sometimes he would end up on the ground when he would hit like a crazy pass rush move. But yeah, I'm a fan of his game if you're ending up with him in like the third or fourth round area. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I actually like this. Well, I'm gonna go over the DBs soon in another stream, but I do like this safety class. I think I'm gonna make a video on like Cole Bishop, Adrian Taylor Demerson, guys I like. I also think like Malik Mustafa is interesting, Tyke Smith, Hicks from Washington State, all guys that I think could be players at the NFL level. Let's see. We'll talk about Leonard Taylor from Miami. Um, I'm not a huge fan personally of Leonard Taylor. He has some very good athletic and physical traits, but he's more of like a high ceiling player. I don't think he has like a super high floor. Like he has some good strength that he can use to stack and shed, but he really needs a lot of work on his technique, pad level, hand usage, everything that's basically a technical skill. Like he definitely needs a lot of coaching. And to me, I'm a big technique guy. Like if a player plays with good technique and is a solid athlete, like I prefer that over like an elite athlete that plays with no technique and doesn't have like super high football IQ. So I'm not a super huge fan of him as a player. Like if you are gonna go for a player like that, I would rather go the Mason Smith route from LSU. He's definitely like a physical specimen, great length, size, has a bunch of upside, strength, quality, athleticism. He just needs more of better technique overall. But I would say he plays with a little more consistent technique than Taylor does. But he needs a better pass rush plan, more repertoire there, playing with more consistent leverage, and I think he has the injury history. But he is a guy that if you wanted to go with the high upside athlete like that, but they're more of like a third round player, then I would go Mason Smith over Taylor. The other LSU player, Mekhi Wingo, he's pretty interesting. I think someone that potentially the Dolphins could show some interest in. But I just feel like a lot of these guys that I feel like they would like maybe Wingo, Carter, Christian Boyd as well. They're all like fourth round ish players, and the Dolphins don't currently have that pick. So these are like need to trade back. That's why I would love to trade back. I love the scenarios where the Dolphins end up trading back, picking up a third or a fourth, potentially both. But thoughts on Tyler Davis? Yeah. Got notes right here. Okay. Yes. Yes, Tyler Davis. I love the leverage that he plays with. Plays with very good leverage. Has some good he has a powerful punch, like good overall play strength, like that stuff. Like his short area athleticism. That's kind of where he wins. I would say in his game, he wins with his leverage. He wins with his short area athleticism with some solid power. But I think he has some limited length and size, which can definitely give him some problems with combo blocks when you let your guys get hands into his chest. He doesn't have that length to always stack, shed, and separate. So you really can rely on that athleticism and time. We'll see how it falls, but O-line is a priority and should be there. I'd reach for Burton at 21, not knowing for sure we get Haynes at 55, but we get both best outcome anyways. Wait, which Burton are you talking about? Oh, wait. Oh, you're talking about Barton, I'm guessing. I'm guessing you're talking about Grant Barton. I was like, Burton. The only Burton I know is Jermaine Burton from Alabama, but I don't think you're talking about the receiver. I don't think if you're talking about Barton, I don't think Barton's a reach at 21. I think after his pro day, I think Barton's gonna go. I think Barton might not even be there anymore at 21. I think it's 50-50 right now whether Graham Barton is there at 21. I think he'd be a pretty great pick. And Haynes at 55. Haynes is one of my top options at 55. I don't know if they go guards back to back. I wouldn't be against it, but it's not something I wouldn't guess that happening, them going back to back guards. I do think O-line's a priority, but I'm a big best player available guy. If there's a way better whatever position that's not offensive line, whether it's edge or D tackle or receiver, safety, and they're way better than the offensive line they're there, then I'm going to go with the better player. But yeah, I do think if it's close, you probably lean offensive line or D line because they're more of a need. But I just think with how they've kind of worked the free agency, the Dolphins kind of put themselves in a position where they think they can go best player available. So that's kind of what I'm expecting right now. But yeah, I definitely am not against O-line at all in the first two rounds, potentially both. At least one would be preferential. What did I just talk about? Did I talk about Wingo? Let's see. Let's talk about. I talked about Wingo. I don't think I talked about him. Wingo, quick twitch athlete, plays with some good leverage. Plays with some explosiveness, solid pass rush repertoire, nice bend, power to his game. He's another guy who's a little undersized and he lacks his length, which can hurt him. I feel like there's a lot of players like that in this class. They're undersized, they lack length, which hurts them with stack and shedding, but they're explosive and they're like those one gap types. So I really like the athletic parts of his game. I feel like if he is used correctly, he's a pretty fun player. Give us the name of a D tackle / DN sleeper that might go from the 5th round to possibly undrafted. Let's see. I think I think the Dolphins brought in Evan Anderson from it's either Florida International or Florida Atlantic. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I did watch him recently because they brought him in on a 30 visit, or they're going to bring him in on a 30 visit. But he was pretty intriguing. I think he's probably a 5th round to possibly go undrafted that I think they would be interested in. And but he was just like quality versus the run, like really solid run defender that I like. I mean, a lot of these guys that I watched, I think, towards the end here could potentially go in the 5th round. I don't know if any of them, the guys that I took notes on, are going to go undrafted, but maybe similar to him is Keith Randolph Jr. He also played at Illinois, a defensive tackle that I think will probably go in like that 5th round range. He played with Newton. He's another guy who really holds up well at the point of attack, good strength, length, very comfortable in the run game. Like that's the type you want a guy in the run game that's just going to be like, I feel like you get him in the 5th and he's a solid player that's going to be a quality run defensive tackle for many years. But he's not the greatest athlete or going to give you too much in pass rush situations. He's more of like a two-down run stuffer. Yep. And then Christian Boyd. They also brought Boyd in, Northern Iowa. They brought him in for a 30 visit. I think he was one of the first 30 visits the Dolphins had. He's like a mid-round player as well. Dolphins, probably where he goes in the draft, Dolphins don't really have that type of pick right now. But he's very exciting to watch. He's very explosive, one-gap style player. Probably going to do a video on him as well. But yeah, he just moves really well. Love the athletic profile. Love the power that he can play within his game and has the strength to hold up at the point of attack. The biggest problem with him, he just has small arms, like short arms, that's really where he just loses. Like when he just doesn't have that length to consistently stack and shed. Like when they get control of him, he gets himself into trouble, and that's where he loses. Like he really relies on getting upfield, winning with that athleticism, getting people off balance, things like that. But yes, the length just hurts his game a lot, and I think that's why he's not going potentially higher, because I really like the rest of his game. Another player that's interesting from Ohio State, Michael Hall Jr. I think he could go pretty high as well. I think he could go in that like 2nd round range, because he is one of like the highest like upside pass rushers, like very quick twitch and explosive player, one of the best pure like pass rush players, I would say, at the defensive tackle position. And even though he's really like pretty small, like he plays with good play strength, good hands, good effort. I expect him to be like an early pass rush specialist type, like I was talking about earlier with Dorless. I think Michael Hall Jr. is in that same range, probably go in the same range of the draft, kind of same vein. I think, Dorless has more experience playing on the edge. But yeah, Hall is quite undersized. He struggles more versus the run. Like when he wins versus the run, it's winning more with like his athleticism. And he can hold up like one-on-one with his play strength versus, defensive or offensive linemen that aren't like super powerful. But yeah, he can definitely you don't want him taking on double teams at the point of attack. That's definitely not his skill set, but he's another player that's very, very fun. This draft is just stacked, man. It's so good. I feel like every position I go through, I find so many more guys than I usually do that I like, or at least think have potential to be good. Like it's pretty deep as well. There's usually not this at this many positions. Some of the positions aren't super stacked, but for the most part, at least the ones that I think the Dolphins are interested in are fairly stacked from the top and have at least a decent amount of depth to it. As the D-line has maybe isn't super top heavy because they only have like 2 first rounder types, but they have a lot really strong in like that 2nd to 4th round range. I think the defensive tackles are going to fly off the board. Like I talked about McKinley Jackson a little bit earlier from Texas A&M. I think he's in that range of the guys I've been talking about. But I think that what makes him intriguing is a lot of these guys are more 3-tech type of players, or at least that's where you're going to see them do a lot of their work, potentially even like 4 eyes, 5 techs. But not a lot of them are really 1 techs or nose, except for like a couple of them that I've talked about. And for the athleticism that McKinley Jackson plays with, for him being a one tech and holding up at the point of attack, he is definitely very, very intriguing. If you need a one tech in this draft, definitely take a look at him on day 2 somewhere, potentially early day 3 type. Talked about almost everyone now. I kind of skipped ahead with some of these players, but I talked about Mason Smith, talked about Tyler Davis. Would you release Mike White later this offseason after drafting a late round QB? There's some. Hold on, let me look at. There's some late round QBs that I've seen. I haven't studied a ton of QBs yet because I don't think the Dolphins need them, and I don't want to get stuck into it. But I do think there are some intriguing QBs that I've seen at least a little bit of, and I do think the Dolphins should at least be looking potentially. I don't know, like they don't have a ton of picks, so they probably might not go in that direction. But I do think it's something to look at, and I wouldn't mind them doing it because I don't love Mike White as a backup, to be honest. But yeah, a lot of interesting players. I think it just depends like where they go. Like I like Michael Pratt, but I think Pratt from Tulane is probably going to go. Like, but I could see him even going potentially day 2. I think Jordan Travis from Florida State would be an interesting guy to go after. Same with Austin Reed. I watched a little bit of Austin Reed from Western Kentucky, but he's like, and he like PFF has him ranked as the 155 prospects. So that's like a, in that like round 4, round 5, range they have him. But he is like a really good processor, and he would be interesting. I think as like a late round guy if you potentially get him. Joe Milton, I've seen that name thrown around. I am from Tennessee. I literally had to go to work. I would go to the University of Tennessee games for work, and I had to watch them play. And Joe Milton, I'm sorry, he's just not very good. I would not put a draft pick on him. To his brother, I wouldn't go in that direction either. Maybe some other players, like I haven't watched Devin Leary's film this year, but I remember watching him last year and thinking, there was something there to work with. He's probably a guy that goes 7th round, maybe undrafted, those types. But yeah, probably wouldn't go after too many though. It's not something I'm like super. I think it's like a super priority. We watched any film on Jawan Briggs from UC? I don't think I've seen Briggs. Wait, what position does he play? I mean, I can just search it up. Oh, Cincinnati D tackle. No, I don't think I've seen him. I'll definitely check him out. He wasn't on the list of film that I had that I was going through. I have his name now, though. Thank you for giving me some names to watch. Sometimes, I have like hundreds of prospects listed down on my list. It's always hard to find new guys. Like I usually find a few different sleepers that I like, but I can't always get into all of them. Usually that's like right before the draft. I try to watch like a couple of them, but yeah. Then we'll talk about a couple guys. I have quick notes on these guys, but Miles Murphy from North Carolina, definitely another run stuffer type of player. He's like another day 3 guy. There's multiple of those. If you want a guy that's stout versus the run, holds his own at the point of attack, there's plenty of those guys actually. I think that you can find a day 3 that I've mentioned, like Evan Anderson, Miles Murphy. Yeah, solid balance, body control, which is always important. Like he's not the greatest athlete, but he has balance and body control. Those athletic traits are always important to defensive tackle play. But yeah, power, hands, all those things are nice, but not going to give you much as a pass rusher, limited production player. Logan Lee from Iowa, I believe. Definitely a penetrator type, disruptive. His motor runs really hot, has a nice first step, and can play with some solid like play strength, but he is not a 2-gapper type. Like you don't expect him to like stack and shed, hold his own at the point of attack. He's really just trying to beat you with that first step explosives. Definitely a day 3 guy in my opinion. And I need him to have more of a pass rush plan. Like if he has more of a pass rush plan, I think he can find a role in the NFL as a pass rusher because he has the athleticism and plays with a high motor that he can, if he can work on his repertoire, that he could be a pretty interesting piece, I think, for a team. But Definitely a guy I'm not looking at until later in the draft. Gabe Hall, Baylor, really good length. Like has some insanely good. I think he has some of the best length in his class. Also another guy that plays with an extremely high motor. Love the effort there. Some decent alignment versatility. He tested well. I think he's a pretty quality mover. I think he takes a little bit while to go in. I think he lacks that first step explosiveness, which is probably the most important athletic, like explosive trait when it comes to defensive tackle play. Which I think he tested better than he looks on film, like athletically. And then he definitely knows how to use his hands and length well, which is good. He has the length, knows how to use it, which is important. Sometimes guys have length, they don't know how to use their hands, and or don't even know how to utilize their length to their fullest potential. But he does, which is a good thing. But yeah, for a guy that has really good length, I think he doesn't have great play strength, and he doesn't play with great leverage, pad level, things like that. And then that can get him into trouble. So it's just more of there's a couple things, but he is intriguing. He's a guy that I think, if he's there on day 3 and you need a defensive tackle, I wouldn't mind going that direction because he has some nice tools to work with. I think he would be interesting if he was like a round 5 pick for Miami. I would definitely be in that direction. But yeah, those are all the defensive tackles I've listed down today. I'll probably, add more to the list. So once I'm like actually watching the draft, I'll have notes on more guys, but that's like the top 20 that I got notes on currently. And then next we'll do edges. I think I'll have an Austin Booker video tomorrow, a film breakdown on him, Kansas. He's an intriguing one, so I'll get the full film breakdown on him. Probably gonna do a decent amount of edges soon. I'm gonna do Booker. I might even do the other UCLA edge rusher, Gabriel Murphy. I have some clips on him I want to do. And then I might get to players like Chop Robinson, Darius Robinson. I didn't talk about Darius Robinson because I haven't taken full-on notes on him yet. Because I have him listed with the edge group because he played edge at Missouri. But he is someone that is that can easily be an interior defensive line. Oh yeah, I should have taken Robbie. I should have taken notes on Lovett. I've definitely seen Lovett play, and he should get drafted. And I've heard a little bit of chatter about him, not a ton, but he should definitely be like with a lot of the guys I just listed, the later guys. He should definitely be in that range because he's a really good run defender, and I think he definitely has some value. I don't have my notes on him, unfortunately, but he is an intriguing player, and I think he's like a player that should get drafted at least. Sometimes there's players that should get drafted and don't end up getting drafted for whatever reason, but he's a player that fits in with a lot of the players I just named towards the end of that list. And yeah, as I was saying about Darius Robinson, Missouri, he should be, he could have easily been listed with the D tackle group today. I'm going to just put him with the edges because he played edge, and I think he'll play both positions at the next level. Like he'll be like maybe an edge on early downs, like a strong side defensive end, set the edge versus the run, because he does a good job versus the run, especially at edge. But then you want him more on the interior as a pass rusher, because I think Darius Robinson's super intriguing to me. He's a guy that I wouldn't mind Miami drafting. More likely in a trade back at 21, like trade back from 21, like late first. And if they took Darius Robinson, I'd be all over that because I think he kills two birds with one stone, playing D tackle and edge. He's definitely a player I'm heavily interested in, and he would probably be on my list of, if all the people I really wanted at 21 were gone, then and there was no one offering to trade up, he would be in play. But yeah, he's someone I'm pretty high on. That guy is good. I'll talk about him a lot more in the Edge video, and might even do a film breakdown on him. And I know people have been asking for Chop Robinson, and I'll probably do a video on him too, because I'm a little, probably a little lower on Chop than most people, but just because I'm a big, technique guy, and Chop is a very, very good athlete, one of probably the best athletes at the position in the class, maybe just one of the best athletes in the class just on film, but he has how similar Darius Robinson and Brandon Dorlus. They're actually when I first thought of the Darius Robinson thing for Miami, I thought Dorlus kind of was like the consolation prize after Robinson, because they were kind of like in the same vein of what I was thinking. It's just Robinson is more of an edge and Dorlus is more of an interior. At least that's where they have more experience playing currently. But I think Dorlus is going to be. I think Dorless wins more with his athleticism, while Robinson wins more with like his play strength and power. Like he loves to win with his power, and he did a lot at the edge. So that's probably why he won more with power, because he could overpower tackles. And I do think Robinson's like. I think Dorless is the better athlete. Robinson's more of like a freak powerfully, and Robinson's athleticism would do better though against defense or interior offensive line than it against tackles. But they're kind of in the same vein of they can play they're versatile and can play both outside, inside. Dorless is just he's the guy you get on day 2, and Robinson you probably get either late day 1, early day 2. And yeah, those are like the 2 players like that. And there's some other ones who are kind of like that, but not full on like play both spots. Like I did the video on Dwayne Carter today, and he even played some snaps at edge, but he's just like he's a defensive tackle that like every once in a while you can play him at edge. While Dorless and Robinson, like I could see them, swapping back and forth in between like every other snap at times. Or, every few snaps they switch spots. I'm definitely fan of their games. I mean, if people have questions, let it rip. I got through all the defensive tackles I want to talk about. So if you want to go, like, we can talk about anything really at this point. Very excited to see all the different scenarios. Let me check something real quick. Honestly, I had clips pulled up. We know. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that. You got Dorless right here. He's lined up basically as a vortex, head up with this tackle right here, and then he gets the one-on-one with the guard, and you can just see that explosiveness. It's a little bit blurry, but I'm using this clip from Twitter. But yeah, the hard club, man, it's so impressive. Hard club, swim over the top, move very well laterally. I really enjoy watching Brandon Dorless. He's one of my favorites for the interior pass rushers in this class. But yeah, definitely a guy to watch for sure. Would not be mad with him at all. He's one of my guys. Hopefully you guys saw that. I had to go full screen, so I wasn't looking at my screen. I only have one monitor right now. But yes, he is a guy I am interested in for sure. I gotta pause that video. Okay. And then we can, let's see. Yeah, and that stuff like right there, that one, I know it's just one play. I can't show just a bunch of plays on these streams. It could get copyrighted. I don't want to risk it, but he has those types of flashes all over the film. Like sometimes multiple times a game, he's making plays just like that. And it's very, very impressive. One of my guys. Let's see. Boom. But yeah. Let me see if I have another clip here. Are you doing live draft stream? Yeah, I think during the draft, I think at least day 1, probably the whole thing. I think I'm just going to be live during the draft. So we'll watch the draft. If people want to come in here, we can watch the draft at the same time. It'll be cool. Live react to the picks. Just talk about, every pick that's happening, talk about what the Dolphins can do. People that are going away. It'll be pretty fun. What's up, Franklin? Good afternoon, Fins up. There always seems a player that falls. Who do you think that might be this year? Let me think about it. Are you saying are you thinking like a top guy that falls? Trying to think. One of the receivers, maybe, because it's such a stacked class. So they end up waiting. I think maybe I could see Fashanu falling for the Penn State offensive lineman a little bit farther than expected. Just because the offensive line class is really good. And personally, like I've seen Fashanu, rated as the top 10 at times. And I just think I would have Alt, Fuaga, Latham higher than him, like players like Fatanu. Sweat definitely falls. Yeah, I mean that one's kind of a given though. Um, I know like Jackson Powers Johnson's like expected to fall now, so I don't think that's really an answer. Um, I could see maybe one of the corners falling farther than expected. I could see like a Kool-Aid McKinstry falling farther than people probably think. But yeah, maybe like a Kool-Aid, maybe Olu Fashanu from Penn State. Just because the tackle class is really good, and I just think the other guys are a little more well-rounded and can potentially play. A lot of those guys could also play guard if needed in year one, and I think that's pretty valuable to teams. I'm just like looking at names right now, trying to think of guys like a wide receiver. Yeah, there does seem to be no consensus. I think when it comes to the CB, the corners, like honestly, I hope a lot of them go early because I don't think the Dolphins should go corner in round one. And I think corners go a lot before 21. Then that just means more and more players are going to fall that at more valuable positions to Miami. Really, the only corner I would consider, as I said, is Cooper DeJean at 21, just because I think he can do multiple different things for your defense and he'd be super interesting. How do you know what clips you can show and which ones you can have copyright issues? Just doing it for a while now, you kind of and like when you get notified for copyright and stuff, well, and it depends. Like if you're talking about broadcast or all 22, like last year I was using all 22 clips a lot, and my channel got 2 strikes, and that was the first time I ever got striked, and then I had to message them, and it apparently was just like certain teams don't want the all 22 clips out there. It seems like they haven't hit yet this year, so I'm hoping it doesn't hit because around this time last year is when it happened, like 2 weeks before the draft. I got hit with a bunch of strikes, and a lot of channels did. Broadcast, pretty much, if you're doing broadcast, you're probably going to get claimed at least a little bit. It just depends on the clips. It just depends on which, like SEC a lot. The SEC will claim you a lot with copyright stuff. So it just depends on the division. If it's like a lower tier school, usually you can get away with it too. But the Pac-12 seems pretty chill about it. So like that's why I've been showing like the Oregon one. Like that's why I feel pretty confident. Yeah. I take DeGene or the Toledo corner. Yeah, I like Quinion Mitchell. If he was there at 21, I don't think it'd be bad value. But I just don't know if they go in that direction. The reason I really want DeGene is because I do feel like he'd play a ton year one and play multiple different spots and play safety, nickel, corner, whatever was needed. And I feel like versatility is so important. And I feel like he would slide right into that defense. Even though I really like all those corners. I really like Wiggins. I really like Terry and Arnold. I really like DeGene. I really like Mitchell. I really like all those guys. I rather all those guys go early so then the Dolphins can have an O-line follow to them that's not expected. Maybe an edge that falls to them like Latu or Verse, which would all be guys I'd definitely be interested in. But yeah, I think we'll definitely get to edges and DBs like as groups where I'm just talking about the nopes before the draft. I think the next stream that I do might just be us looking at random mock drafts and talking about like different scenarios because I feel like that'd be fun. Try to mix it up because I feel like the last few streams I've just been talking about prospect notes the whole time, and we can mix it up, do something different next time. So that should be a fun thing. And then I'm just gonna keep posting random player breakdowns every single day up to the draft. And once we get closer, and I feel more confident that I'm not gonna get copyrighted before the draft, I might start posting some more all 22 on the DBs. Also, yeah, when you're talking about the copyright, I think when you show like the deep all 22 angle for like the high one from the camera, not the back shot from the end zone view, I think those are more likely to get copyrighted than the end zone view. That's why I've only been showing end zone view in most of the videos if I do the all 22. But yeah. So yeah, we'll probably do just a lot of videos, a lot of breakdowns. And if anyone, probably end it here in a second unless people have questions. I'll let it sit here for a couple of seconds. I wonder how much of a delay I'm on. Because usually it's probably like I don't know. It's hard to tell. So if I've asked something, then usually you guys respond in like, I usually see it in like probably between like 5 to 10 seconds later. Maybe even longer than that now. But yeah. How far down would you be comfortable going from 21 and still get a player you want? I think. Okay. 1 second here. But yeah, so I was saying, okay, 21. Yes. I was. Let me think about it. Probably would stick within the first round, but I do think like if your players are gone at 21, I think like the top players, like the players between like 30 to 55 are all very similar level to me. So if you're going to trade back pretty far, like I don't mind going even out of the first round a few spots if all of your guys that you really want at 21 are gone. But so I feel pretty comfortable trading back like a decent amount if that's what it comes to. But I would rather stick in the first round. So I would be fine going back to like the 30 range, but also because I think you would just get more picks for that. And I don't think you're going to miss out on anything too crazy from, instead of trading back to like 24. But I also, don't mind doing that either. But yeah, I would feel fine with it. I think you could still get a quality player if you know what you're doing in the draft. Da-da-da-da. Where's my fucking... How do you feel about Justin? Yeah, the D tackle from Alabama. I don't have my notes on him. Where is that? I definitely watched him play. I think he was a pretty solid run defender from what I remember, but I don't have that off the top of my head right now. But I just don't know. I've definitely, yeah. So, did we finally win the division this year? I fucking hope so. I mean, I do think the Bills have regressed with what's happened in their free agency. I'm gonna guess. I just need to see the exact schedule, and I need to see what happens with the draft to say for sure. But I think this is your time to do it. So I think there's a decent chance. But I'm not the type of person to talk in absolutes unless I'm absolutely certain, and I'm not. Who are your bang the table guys for that legitimately have a chance to be there at 21? The legitimate part is the biggest part there because I would obviously say Troy Fatanu, but I really don't think he's going to be there. I do think there is a chance. So I will add Fatanu to the list for now. But other than that, I would say Graham Barton, Latu, UCLA edge. I would say Newton for now over Murphy if they were going to go in the defensive tackle direction. And that's probably like it for the guys that I think have a chance of being there. There's a few other guys I really like, but I don't know if I'm banging the table for any of them right now. Yeah, that's probably it. But Fatanu would be like the dream draft pick in my eyes because he would be a day one starter at left guard. He could be potential future left tackle, and then I also have him as a top 10 player, so that's why I'm very high on Fatanu. Right, are you going to any games this year? Probably not. I mean, I don't live in Miami, and I've been to a couple games before, like NFL games, and honestly, I think I just prefer to watch them like on TV. Plus, with like this job I have, I go to a bunch of college football games. Like I have to go to the University of Tennessee games, and we basically keep track of stats and stuff at the game. So I'm like always doing stuff on Saturdays, being at games, so that I don't want to like go and then be at another game Sunday. I'd rather just watch. But yeah, I like Barton if we move down. I don't like him at 21. Honestly, I don't think he's gonna be there at 21. That's my guess right now. Barnes is a very good player. And I understand why people are a little more iffy on Barton because he's like Fatanu is a guard that could still very well play tackle. Like out of the tweeners, I do think Barton is a for sure interior guy. I just think Barton's one of the safest picks in this draft. But Fatanu would be like my number one option. Him and Fuaga from Oregon State, but I think Fuaga is even less likely to be there. But I mean, all those offensive linemen, like Latham, I would be excited about as well, but I don't think he's going to be there. I think all those, Alt Fuaga, Mims, Latham, Fashanu, maybe even Tyler Guyton could be gone. I'd love Jordan Morgan in a trade back. Definitely a fan of Jordan Morgan he's like I feel like he's kind of what he would be like the consolation prize to Fatanu. He's a little bit lower Fatanu for me. Yeah, I think speaking of Tennessee, someone should see what the Lions want for Hendon Hooker. That would be an intriguing backup. I don't mind Hooker at all. But I don't know what they have. Great work checking daily. Appreciate you, Hard Rock fan. But yeah. Probably gonna end it here in a sec. Unless anyone has any last second questions. Things they want to talk about. But chilling, usually I go for about an hour. It's been an hour. And probably start to upgrade these. I'll definitely be showing more clips throughout, especially closer to the draft when I feel comfortable doing that stuff. And yeah, we'll try to do even more different stuff, just going over mock drafts. I think going over potential different scenarios will be fun, and then we can still talk about players. Thanks, man. Good shit as always. Appreciate you, Robbie Miller, being in here. Oh yeah, leave a like on the stream. I guess that helps people see it more if you guys leave a like on the videos and the streams and stuff. But yeah, thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.